All right, y'all, thanks for joining us for our Beef Brunch News Update for Tuesday, June 27th. We're going to change the order up just a little bit. Lee's on the road, but he is with us, so we're going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Lee, for our North Louisiana update.
Okay, hey, how are y'all doing? Glad to be with y'all today. Sorry about this. I'm on the road right now, and I'm going to try to get through this without an inordinate amount of stumbling on my part. I hope everybody can hear me all right. If not, I maybe Ashley will wave her hands or something. But anyway, had several storms roll through in the last 2 weeks since our last visit through northern Louisiana. Some pretty significant damage in pockets scattered throughout, and quite a varied amount of rainfall has been realized by folks. And the downside to the rainfall, every drop has been appreciated, but a lot of the rain, for example, the last rainfall event, which was over 2 inches, came within by the span of about 3 hours. So we don't get full absorption from those rains, but it is greatly appreciated by everybody. As far as that goes, pastures and hay fields had really started to show, kind of started to show the effects of this high humidity and high temperatures. My goodness, we've had some hot temperatures since we last visited, and the humidity has been something we're unaccustomed to dealing with. You know, in North Louisiana, we get our fair share of humidity, but it's not anything like what we have been dealing with the last 2 weeks and such. Pastures generally look good though. Cattle have been suffering. I think that goes without saying, is with these hot temperatures as it is, and it's kind of ground hay production to a halt. Most everybody is done with their first round, especially if there was ryegrass in the mix. Naturally, they would be done. Most everybody's made a first round on Bermuda and Bahia as well, and they're just waiting to get some more rainfall. And these rainfall events will probably push us over the edge as far as making our second cutting. Speaking of hay production, visited with numerous people about their first cutting, and the response is the same no matter who it is. Everybody has been disappointed with yields so far. Hadn't talked to anybody that said I've really made a good cutting. My yields were fantastic, anything like that. Now that could just be belly aching, of course, but I think it's a general trend up our way that we're behind a bit on hay, and everybody is worried. You know, we're knocking on the door to July now, and just being behind the eight ball, and with these hot temperatures forecast, kind of worried about what's going to happen with the rest of the growing season as far as hay goes. Speaking of hot temperatures, forecast up our way is showing highs of 102 later on in the week, and I hope they're wrong on that. But the good sign is there is chances of rain moving forward. Of course, we hope that doesn't bring any more storms, because here lately, when it's been rain chances, it's been storm chances. So hopefully, it's just going to be some nice soaking rains moving forward as far as that goes. Cattle continue to be marketed despite maybe some slight hiccups in the cattle markets. I know Ashley's going to give a full report during her segment, but I'll go on and jump in and give y'all a summary of the data compiled as far as last week at Louisiana livestock auctions. Just as a reminder, folks, this is self-reported information. I always tell you how much confidence I have in this, and had a large number of data points on this, had a lot of reports on this, and for this week's summary, and so I have pretty high confidence in most all numbers. That being said, I'll jump straight into it. On 500 to 600 pound calves, on the steer side of thing, the average of the ranges was $1.22 per pound to $2.45 per pound, with the high point being $2.55 per pound. On the heifer side of things, $1.29 to 2.23, with the high point being $2.39 per pound. So that's pretty good money even on the heifer side. Moving into the cull cows, the killing cows and bulls. On the cull cows, the average of ranges was 64 cents a pound to $1.11, with the high point being $1.15. So The high point and the average don't vary that much, and that tells you that the ranges were pretty well all uniform on the high end. On bull side of things, 66 cents to $1.23 per pound. High point being $1.27. Folks, I know we're getting towards the end of our spring breeding season. These cull bull prices continue to be sky high, and in my opinion, replacement bulls haven't quite caught up to what these cull bull prices are. Now is an excellent time as we wind down our spring breeding season. If you've got these older bulls, maybe poor performing bulls, bulls that maybe need to go on and go to town, I would suggest getting them gone. Even if you don't have a bull to replace them at this exact moment, just go on and make plans to, folks. Capitalize on these high cull prices, especially on these bulls. On the replacement cow side, bred cows, the average of the ranges was $389 on the bottom end and $1,571 per head on the top end, with the high point being $2,600 per head on bred cows. And folks, I kind of wavered on reporting the bottom end because I say every week, every time we record one of these and I present this data to you, that quality is king, folks. We're not sitting here looking at these cattle and grading these cattle as to quality. You just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt, so to speak. But the top end on the range, the average of the range was $1,571 on bred cows. Folks, that's not too bad if they're pretty decent quality cattle, younger type, good cattle. That's not too bad. On the pair side, the average of ranges is $588 per head, all the way to $1,763 per pair. The high point being $2,650 per pair. And so generally, this is still a strong market. I'm of the opinion, and Vince and Ashley may not share it, but I'm of the opinion that these replacement cows have yet to catch up to our calf prices, folks. Once again, I'm not sitting at these sale barns watching these cattle run through, but I think there may be some deals here relative to what these calves are bringing, specifically on the bred side, but also on the pair side, folks. If you've got extra grass, um, it may be a good time to visit with your local auction market, your local order buyer, or just make a trip yourself and look into possibly replacing some of these cows, some of these cull cows you may have culled in the last year since these prices have been high. With that being said, I'm going to close out and say I had the opportunity, as well as the other two people on this video, to attend 4-H University on campus at LSU this past week. What a wonderful event that is. If you've never been to the award ceremony at the close of 4-HU, what us old folks used to know as short course, I highly recommend it, folks. You see these young people that are very excited, that are very passionate about their contests that they've studied and prepared for. You see how strong Louisiana 4-H truly is when you're in a room, a space with over 1,000 of them in one spot. It does the heart good to see them. I'm just going to be honest with you, and to see their passion, their commitment to 4-H and their parishes and agriculture. The other event that I was able to attend at the conclusion of 4-H University was Farm Bureau's annual convention, and down in New Orleans. What a great event! The Farm Bureau always does a fantastic job putting on timely commodity meetings and covering topics that need to be covered. It's great to visit with so many friends, a lot that I don't see but once a year. And so kudos to Louisiana 4-H and Farm Bureau, both for putting on very good events this past week. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, Ashley.
Thank you, sir. It was a long week, but it was a great week for all of us to be able to go to both of those events and go. I at least went back and forth a couple of times traveling. Vince, will go ahead and turn it over to you for our Central and South Louisiana update.
Well, thank you all for having me. And it's our update today is on the heels of that long week last week. Both 4-HU and the Farm Bureau Convention, which I attended both of those as well. And that's always a great outing. I participated as a youth in 4-H in judging livestock and poultry at 4-H short courses Lee alluded to, now 4-H University. And the energy is great with these kids. And I guess we're doing jobs that we're passionate about and carrying out a tradition over time that, we're doing things that we like to do. And it's a career that we've chosen over time. But my two daughters have been through it or still going through it. My youngest daughter is a senior in high school. 4-H is a great outing, great opportunity for kids to learn leadership and citizenship and be competitive in the same nature, but about the things we're all passionate. So likewise for you two guys that attended both of those events, it was an exhausting week, but a good week and a nice time to see everybody and some of our colleagues, throughout the state and in the industry that we, like Lee alluded to, that we don't get to see throughout the year. And nice time to catch up over a few days down in New Orleans. So we thank the Ag Center for allowing us to do these things. Related to our weather situation, unlike what Lee was talking about as far as local weather in the central part of the state, it's been a very, very hit and miss. Some of the areas have caught tail ends of rain and storm events that Lee alluded to in the northwest part of the state. Some portion of central Louisiana, did get some rains over the last few events that came through. Unfortunately, where I'm at, and I'm a cow-calf producer, we had 2/10 of rain on Wednesday night, and that's been the only measurable rain I've had in a 6-week period. So we're pushing on July 1. Had an opportunity to bale a little hay last weekend. Yield was about half of what I normally bale on those acres I put up. So had one of my neighbors, I talked to him on the phone, who's a fellow cow-calf operator, and he said, I passed by your haystack on that field, and it's not near what it was or has been in the past. I said, no. I said, it's been dry, and I didn't expect more than I got out of it. It is exactly half of what I normally get off of that field. And was with a hay producer here just momentarily earlier today, has the same concerns. He's got orders. He's a custom baler, and he bales and sells hay for per order for both the racehorsing industry and cattle industry here in our area. And he has several 100 bale orders on hand. And he told one of them yesterday. He said, I'm just not going to make it. We're on July the 1st next week, and it's powder house dry in our area. I'll be honest with you. Watching the drought monitor, it's very unusual to see any kind of droughty conditions coming off of the Gulf of Mexico. I'm roughly about 75 miles off the Gulf. A typical afternoon is, sea breeze showers coming in, and they reach us pretty regular. But it has not been that way this spring and summer, and it's awfully dry. And the drought monitor has indicated that that last run of 100-degree weather week before last, it was terrible. Cattle are suffering by it. That even our Brahman cross and heavily Brahman influenced cows that we use in central and south Louisiana are feeling the strain from this heat and humidity, and this weather we got coming over the next few days, tomorrow and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. May God bless us with some rain on Saturday and Sunday, as they're kind of predicting. Hopefully that heat wave trend it goes somewhere else, or the high pressure that is causing all these high heat days can give us some relief by the end of the week. But it's getting critical. People are just not spending money on fertilizer on a maybe at this point in time, and we've reached that first day of summer, so our days are getting shorter at this period. So it's going to be an interesting run here at the end of the summer to see where we're at on hay, and I think it's going to be kind of scary moving forward, in all honesty. So be interesting to see. The cow market's still favorable, as Lee alluded to. I think our prices are pretty much similar to what he spoke of. So, but a lot of people have made those culling options or taken advantage of those culling options to get non-productive cattle out of their herds. And as he alluded to, the bull market, bulls, probably herd bulls, are losing a considerable amount of conditioning with these high temperature days that we're experiencing. So if it's something that you're not going to hold on to, take advantage of the market while it's here. So you'll probably want to replace one or two of those bulls over the winter time, and it's a good time to cull them out and not hold on to them. And as one of our speakers at the Farm Bureau convention said in the livestock component of that meeting, if that's that one you were waiting on to have a calf, one of those is going to eventually die, and there goes your profit margin. So likewise for those bulls, they'll go lay up in the shade, find the littlest mud hole and make it the largest mud hole and get stuck in it at some point in time. And just cut your losses if you had intended on taking them out of the herd. Prices are good, and move on. Moving forward, there's a lot of skepticism. Talked to one of the local dealers on ryegrass seed prices. They're anticipating ryegrass seed to be even higher this year. So if you haven't spoke to your dealers where you normally buy your ryegrass seed, you may want to do so. Higher prices and less inventory. Some of those dealers got hung with inventory last year because of high fertilizer prices, higher than normal seed prices. So their orders are going to be less this year. So you may want to fill your order or let your intentions and your needs be known to your local dealer, because there may be a shortage of ryegrass seed because of high prices and high freight costs. So just be aware of that. So moving forward, it's kind of a gloom and doom. We're not real sure where the situation is going to take us, but it definitely needs to change, and we hope we see a change really soon. So that's about all I have, and I just kudos to the other comments Lee made about the marketing situation and the hay situation. It's just awfully dry. I mean, we haven't made the hay that we need, and it doesn't look very favorable that we'll get that done.
Thank you, sir. So for my market reportings, so this is for the week ending June 23rd. The slaughter volumes in the 5-area feeding region for the past week were confirmed 66,418 head. That was down 28,759 from our report 2 weeks ago. Choice box beef closed the week at $335.96. It is up $11.47 from the previous report, with a choice select spread of $30.62, which is an increase in $7.64 compared to the previous report. Reported in the National Weekly Direct Slaughter Negotiated Purchases Report on a confirmed 79,149 head. For the week in the Southern Plains, live purchases traded $2 lower at $180. In Nebraska, live purchases traded $3 to $5 lower at $182 to $185. In the Western Corn Belt, the live purchases traded $2 to $3 lower from $184 to $185. For our 5-weight steers, medium and large 1s and 2s, again, this is an average between Oklahoma and Mississippi. They averaged $248, which is down $11 from the previous report. And the 7-weight feeder steers, mediums and large 1s and 2s, sold at an average of $204, which is down $6 compared to 2 weeks ago. When we start looking at our slaughter cows, so the lean cull cows ended the week at 90 cents, which is down a penny. Boning utility, your moderate condition ended at $1.01, which is down 2 pennies. And the breakers, or your high conditioned, ended the week at $1.04, which is up about a penny. Again, y'all, those are averages from between Mississippi and Oklahoma. And when I look at those and looking at the ranges, you're seeing anywhere 12 to 14 cents difference between Mississippi and Oklahoma there. Moving into our feedstuffs, again, compared to 2 weeks ago, soybean meal is up $16 at $443.20 a ton. Soybean hulls are steady at $125 a ton. Rice bran was not reported for the week. Cottonseed meal was steady at $362.50 a ton. Whole cottonseed is up $5 at $240 a ton. Corn gluten feed meals, that's a 60%, is steady at $640 a ton. DDGs are down $16.67 at $228.33 a ton. And the corn, again, this is the new crop, was up 79 cents at $6.07 a bushel. I know we've mentioned it before, our events and things are a little bit slower during the summer, but we've got a field day coming up. That's the DeSoto Parish Cattlemen's Association Summer Field Day. It's going to be Friday, July 7th, so not this Friday, but a week from Friday. It'll be at the Branch Ranch in Mansfield. Pre-registration is required for this. You need to register with Josh Salley, and I have his email and his number listed in the video and podcast description. He wants registration done by this Friday, June 30th. The event will begin at 8:30 and it will conclude with a lunch. Again, the Cattlemen Association is hosting their second annual health summit. That is going to be July 21st through the 22nd at LSU campus in Baton Rouge. For more information, you can contact Shae with LCA, and I have her number listed as well. Trying to think. We've talked, on the hay, again, I know some of y'all, sometimes we get some new listeners in on this. If you're new to working with us at the Ag Center, we do forage samples, or we will help you send off forage samples, and we have a forage lab at LSU. So if you need help pulling forage samples or hay samples, please just reach out to your local county agent, reach out to one of us, and we'll find the one closest to you and help you get those sent off for analysis. Vince, you talked ryegrass seed. Trying to think, I'm going through the list in my head because I didn't write it down this time. I think that's all we have for today. Hopefully I don't think of something after we get done. We will see y'all again in just a couple of weeks.